All right, so before we jump into the actual product demonstration, I just want to show a quick diagram here that illustrates how our solution is going to work inside the environment. So we have password safe kind of at the center of it, right? That's either going to be deployed in a cloud or an on-premise fashion. Password safe is our product for managing privileged passwords, as well as doing some session monitoring. The key point here to keep in mind is that this is all kind of internal traffic behind a firewall. We do also have secure remote access solutions as well, but for today, we're going to focus on primarily password safe and our endpoint privilege management solution. So, the user will get connected, get logged into password safe. From there, they're going to use a privilege credential. Ideally, we want to kind of push them in the direction of using the session monitoring inside of password safe, and I'll show kind of with our endpoint privilege management how we can enforce or kind of encourage users to use the session monitoring component. Otherwise, they'll get kind of a different policy otherwise. And so really in this model, right, we're making sure that the user is validated, that they are verified. We'll have different points for multi-factor authentication, either at kind of the password safe console or at the kind of the endpoint privilege management layer. And from there, we're really kind of controlling exactly what the users are able to do, and that there's a record or log of the activity that they're doing. I'm going to get logged into password safe. I'm going to go take advantage of the kind of the new workforce passwords functionality. Put in my password safe demo user. Get logged in. Now at this point, I'm enforcing multi-factor authentication. Now I could make this pretty obvious that it's using Okta, but certainly customize that messaging however you feel. But I'm logged into password safe, and we're going to focus for this product demonstration purely on the kind of password safe functionality. We'll ignore the secrets management of it all. I'll click on this tile, and the very first screen here is going to show me all the credentials that I have favorited for this demonstration. We're going to focus in on this. So Karen's my demo user. And Karen has this dedicated account, this Karen.Walker-S account that's only available for her. And we're going to walk you through how my user is going to get connected. And so we have two options that are available. Because this account is dedicated, it's her account. Only she can use it. So from like a repudiation perspective, I'm not forcing her to go through any kind of like approval workflow, which we do have. That is an option that password safe can do. So there's no approval workflow, so I can start a session or retrieve a password. And so let me show you kind of that retrieve password workflow first. So it gets me to a point where I can show the credential here on the screen. So I can copy this out. If I don't want to actually show it, I certainly don't have to. Close out that window, and then we're going to go and get connected to that server. Put in the credential that I just copied out. We'll get logged in. Now, the user that I am using is not an administrator by default. We are taking advantage of the endpoint privilege management function. So if you look here under the administrator group, my user is not a member of any group. In fact, our agent will actually stop this functionality from happening. Right? Not an admin. But I can do privilege tasks. Let's just do a quick check, verify here. Policy is up to date. Yep. We are good to go. Alright, so we'll do just a quick one here, right? Now, you could technically set whatever policy set that we want to do. What's interesting here is because I've chosen not to do the session management through password safe, I'm going to see here the MFA prompt that's going to occur. And so what this will do, it's going to open up. We have two kind of choices for MFA when it comes to the endpoint privilege management solution. What you're seeing here today is our OIDC connection. So I know what the password is because I literally just checked it out. And I'm going to get connected in for that particular user. And it's going to prompt me here to complete the MFA. And now that I've done that, voila. I'm in. I'm able to do privileged actions. Fantastic. Now, another method that I can take from password safe is this start RDP session. And so what I'll do here is I will open the file that's downloaded. Now keep in mind that the way that this essentially works is that password safe is downloading a file that has a time to live. And so I've now taken over the session that was there because it is the exact same user. But now it's a proxied session. Now, if I close out of this and attempt to do another privileged action, we'll open up command prompt as an administrator. At this point, right, I'm seeing a different style of message. Still getting messaging here, right? But because it's a proxied session, everything that's being done inside of this proxied session from password safe is being recorded. It's just a simple, hey, tell me why we're doing this, right? And at this point, we have an audit log. And really, in either case, there's going to be logging not only from the password safe perspective, but also from the privilege management perspective. So we can tie kind of those data points together. Certainly, we want to encourage users to use the session monitoring, session management. Now, for those users that don't necessarily want to go through the website and start a session from here, one of the other options that we do have is we have a feature within password safe called Direct Connect. What this does, and we have two options here. I can copy out the connection string or download an RDP file and kind of store those in a folder location. But with that connection string, we can take that and put it into kind of whatever remote desktop manager type tool. And what we have here, I've got a number of different connections here that are still using password safe, right? I'm proxying them through a specific server here, right? We see that it's called BeyondTrust. And I'm passing in the credentials, not for the managed account managed by password safe, but for the user that I'm using to log in, and I'm putting in a push command with that password. So it's basically the same way that I logged into password safe. Still using that Okta radius authentication method. There will be a push prompt on my phone that I have to recognize. And so I'll go ahead and start this session. And there we go, just got the notification here on my phone, and I'll get connected into the server. And so this is a way that we can still use password safe, still get the password safe, kind of session monitoring. And I'll prove this here. We'll just run something real quick just to demonstrate. Oh, hey, yeah, this actually was must have been whitelisted in my policy because it didn't prompt anything. Here we go. But we can tell here from the work style information that this is coming from my password safe sessions policy for privilege management. I just have to provide a reason, right? I'm not getting prompted for MFA because I've already done that. And that's kind of the idea here, right? All right, so complete this. And so then if I wanted to, start, a number of different sessions from here, it's relatively easy to do. If I want to start the whole folder, I could do that. It's all within kind of the parameters of the kind of session management tool that you have. and then for the admins that want to control machines remotely through remote PowerShell, we can. And I'll just give you a quick example here. So I'm connected into the SCCM box from my SQL machine. I see here that the service for the print spooler is not working, and just kind of a simple example. Remember, I'm not connected in with like any kind of privileged account, right? We established earlier that this Karen Walker S has no inherent privilege, and so what I'm actually doing here is I am using a remote PowerShell command to start the service, and that remote PowerShell command is being elevated by privilege management. So what you could in theory do is you could have a tools box and allow the user to get in. We have a privileged session that's being ran here, and I'll show you from the policy standpoint how we're accomplishing all of this. So on the privilege management side, this is where my policy exists. And if I go take a look at my server policy, which is what we're using, I'll show you kind of the different policy sets and how I'm kind of changing the privilege experience for my users. And there's quite a few templates that are here. I'm just going to focus in on the ones that I'm actually using. So one, there's this password safe session work style, and what I'm leveraging here is a simple computer filter that basically says I want to key in and enforce all this policy for proxied sessions through password safe. And that's accomplished through this computer filter. So we're looking at kind of that RDP, and as long as we're seeing that Beyond Insight as the host name, we're going to pass in the policy that's here. And what do I mean by policy? Well, we've got all these different sets of rules, and this can all be configured however it makes sense for your use cases, but largely I'm just passing in, and if you saw right, there's that password safe sessions select a reason where I'm for privileged activity where they're running restricted functions, I'm asking them, hey, provide a reason for that activity. And one of the things that we actually can do here is we can say for certain things I still want it to go through like a request flow. So I just changed this any UAC prompt to be part of this request process. So they're still not making changes from untrusted source. At least this is a signed application. This is trusted and signed. And actually, to be truthful, probably still want a reason. So that's the experience coming through password safe. If you're not coming through password safe, where you've checked out the password, and I guess I should change that, right? There's only certain users that are allowed to use this, right? This multi-factor enforcement, they're still getting the password from password safe. They're just not coming through a proxied session. And with that, I'm enforcing MFA for anything and everything that they're doing. And we're kind of relying on the audit trail inside of EPM. And for some activity, I am still going to force them to go out and complete a service now or a request through a ticketing system in order to accomplish that goal. Now the print service role, that was enabled through this. From a filter perspective, I'm keying it again the same users that were a part of the multi-factor, and they're the same users that have access and password safe, but I'm requiring them to go through a proxied session. They can't just get connected in from any old host. I want it to come from a proxied session through password safe. And from a function, what they're actually able to do is these are those kind of remote PowerShell commands. That's what I demoed in the, certainly if they were local on the machine, that would also work for this other role that was here, right? Where I have all the kind of the print management pieces. So we cover it for really kind of any type of server admin there is out there, right? Whether they're doing it through PowerShell or they're using kind of the GUI interfaces that are on the Windows machines as well. All right, so here we are. We're going to take a look at my particular server group. Don't need that. So here are the kind of activities that were done. So if I look at, for example, this action, oh, here we go, remote PowerShell command. Fantastic. That's really more of what I was looking for, right? So here I can see. All right, so this is the event details that we have for the execution of that remote PowerShell command. That was the application description, and then the actual application group is that server role ITPS remoting. If we look at the details, it's going to give us like any kind of the background information. This is a remote PowerShell command. We could see the session, the user, the system that we were connected to, even get some basic information about the OS. And then from a policy perspective, this is where we see the actual command that was executed. And then if we wanted to, like in a script perspective, we could use the hash and write a rule for the PowerShell script against the hash. Now, with this being a PowerShell command, it's not going to show any relevant results in VirusTotal. However, we do have the ability to integrate our EPM with VirusTotal to show if there's anything like nefarious with a particular script or really any hash. Now, what we're going to do is shift our attentions to password safe and show the logging there. And if I wanted to see like the completed session, so where I actually did complete, I can go take a look at this. This shows me not only full-blown recording, but also any like the keystrokes or anything that was actually typed here. So between the two kind of sources of record, I can figure out exactly what was happening between on the machine from a privilege standpoint across the board. So there's definitely clear benefit for using password safe from the session management perspective, but just from the kind of preventing against those password spray attacks. We can see here, if I look at the password history for this account, right, I have rotated this credential already from a post-release reset yesterday, and as soon as I check in these requests, kill those sessions that I have, look at these requests, just for a quick demo purpose. Not that so if I were to do nothing, these would expire within 2 hours. I don't want to wait 2 hours. We don't have that kind of time, but I'll just check them in all manually. And what we'll actually see in the console is that this account is going to rotate here just from that check-in process. There we go. Last change result is in that pending state. We're going to see it change here in just a moment. All right, so we fast forward probably a little bit more than I wanted to. Unfortunately, I got pulled away, but that is how life happens sometimes. But if I look at the account that we were looking at and using, I can see here that the credential has been rotated actually quite a bit today. So it's on its third credential of the day. That's largely just from use. So every time that it's being used, we're rotating that hash. So if it's accidentally getting stored on some hash table on some machine, we're making those those hashes useless by rotating the credential. And then if somehow a user were able to get access to that credential, RDP to the machine, while it's still live, right? There's still that policy enforcement that's going to happen on the privilege management perspective. So really it's just layers upon layers of defense, which is essentially the strategy behind putting password safe and EPM together in the way that I've shown you